All right, here we are on this Friday. We want to welcome you into Coronavirus Inside the Arizona Numbers. Boy, what a wild 24 hours. We do have a lot to get to. Obviously, here we stick to the Arizona data as it comes in and help you decipher what you're seeing there, let you make the best choices for your family and your life. We're just here to help you to provide this data and teach you where to find it. But of course, the big headline that we cannot ignore, at about 10 p.m. Arizona time last night, we learned that President Trump and the First Lady have both confirmed that they tested positive for COVID-19, that they are reportedly exhibiting symptoms, mild symptoms at this point. And it's obviously dominated all the headlines. It's what everybody's talking about here today. We will talk about it just a bit and some changes as it pertains to Arizona, because he did have some visits scheduled here in Arizona, what that means for Tucson and Flagstaff visits. We'll get to all of that, but we do want to get to some of the Arizona-based numbers and then also answer your questions as it pertains to the data coming out of the state of Arizona. So the President and First Lady joining the 7.3 million Americans who are now facing a COVID-19 diagnosis and in this battle. All right, Garrett, let's look at our local numbers, start on the summary page as we always do, and then let people know what else is happening across Arizona as it pertains to these numbers.
So today we reported about 551 new cases, bringing our total to just under 220,000. As well as the number of new deaths reported today, 19. These are somewhat recent. There's actually about half of these are actually from July. Always important to know when the where the deaths are coming to see if our deaths are actually increasing or not. It does not appear right now that our deaths are increasing. However, cumulatively, of course, they're increasing. It's at 5,700 at this point. This is off of about 7,000 tests, giving us a percent positive for the day of about 7.7. However, the good thing is that because there was some backfilling going on, that's actually closer to 3.7 for the last 7 days. So we're seeing tests being brought in from the last about 10 days, but 7 days or so, it's only about 3.7, which is one of the lowest numbers we've had. So still some good news, at least on the number of tests coming in positive with the volume.
Yeah, so it's important to know that footnote as you look at all these numbers. Garrett, as far as Maricopa County and then some of our other counties who are kind of watching the numbers closely because one of their three metrics has dipped back into the substantial category, that doesn't mean the whole county is designated as substantial or needing to go to full remote learning, but it is something to watch in those counties. How are things looking there?
Well, for Maricopa County has been in a bit of a holding pattern with cases as of late. They're growing at about the proportion that you would expect. So about 60-ish% of the cases that are being reported on any given day are coming from Maricopa County. And so it's sort of just holding the same week by week numbers, slightly increasing or slightly decreasing. Some good news are places like Coconino County. Coconino County is one of the counties that for the last couple weeks is now sort of in the substantial rate of per capita per 100,000 people. However, this last week they've had a fairly aggressive decrease in the number of new cases they're adding week by week. So as of right now, it looks like Coconino is not going to continue in that category for so long. Pima's in the same situation. Pima looks like it had some really bad weeks because of the U of A testing that was going on, but it looks like things are sort of a little bit more under control there. So we do have some problem areas that we'll go over a little later, but we do have some sort of growth in some of these other counties. So.
Okay, so we'll continue to watch those. This is a good place for those of you who are interested to find this information for your specific county over the weekend. When we're not here with you to update this for you, this is where you can find it, the AZDHS site. And for any of you who are new, you want to click on that data dashboard, then click on summary, scroll down and click on your county, and that'll get you to the exact spot. Garrett's scrolling up for you there so you can see all the red circles. When you click on those, you're going to find more information on your zip code, on demographics, for age groups, and you'll find all that in there. So whatever you're looking for, you can pretty much find it right there, one-stop shop on the AZDHS site, and that information will be there for you. But as always, I mentioned Garrett does a summary of these on his Twitter account over the weekend. So when we're not here with you, You can look at that on Saturday and Sunday. Garrett, your Twitter handle, I'm going to say it a little early. Usually I let people know at the end of our chat here, but that is at Garrett_Archer. And so when we're not with you again over the weekend, you'll be able to find that there. Okay, Linda was just asking just a minute ago about the R0 number. What she is asking is what's affecting the R0 number right now. Her concern is that it's up to, I believe, 1.04 today. I didn't see the whole range, and Linda's right. It's gone up. It was at in the 0.9 range, 0.91, something like that. Then over the last couple days, we've seen that go up to as high as 1.09, now back down to 1.04. Garrett, can you help her better understand what plays into that R0 number?
Sure, and I'll start really exactly where I am right here. I clicked on Gila County cases for a reason. We know just based on the numbers that have been reported and from Gila County Health Department that there was an outbreak at a long-term care facility in Globe, and you can see what this outbreak has done to Gila County's line. Here's basically the peak of the pandemic for this county, and then all of a sudden, right here, when those were reported, 54 cases in one day on September 29th, massive, nearly double everything else. So this is basically showing, and then when you put it into this week number, you can see how this is what this has done to their per capita numbers. They're basically looking at a week that's going to be almost as bad as the weeks that they had during the peak pandemic. So how does this play into the RT number? Well, of course, the RT number is only going on reported cases. What I will show you is I will stop this really quick, and I'm going to go, we'll start with the RT live because that's the one that the governor likes to use, but I am going to go to the counties here as well right after we're done here. So as you were saying, our RT right now is fairly high. It's at 1.0. Wait, let me refresh this. It might have changed.
1.04.
1.04, thank you. I sometimes my tabs are up for more than 24 hours. So it's 1.04. This is the line. Well, first of all, just so everyone knows about the RT, we talk about the RT every day. And I know some people would go back into some of these and say, well, on September 14th, you guys said that the RT was 9.9, and now it's 1.01. What you have to understand, as we talked about, this line is recalculated every single day. When you look at the RT, you are getting sort of where it is right now in real time, but it really doesn't matter what we talked about at September 14th because the line has been recalculated. The RT is the rate of transmission for the entire duration of the pandemic, or at least a large subsection, at least 90 days of the pandemic. So please understand that when we talk about the RT 3 days from now, this 1.04 may not be relevant anymore. That's just something you must know about this. So this is the line that they're using to create this calculation. And what you see here is you see that the last couple of weeks we have seen some increases. And this RT is only going off of reported cases because that's all they can do, but it always takes into consideration the where it thinks we're going to be from where cases were about 7 days ago or so, 7 to 14 days, because they're estimating what the increases could look like over time. That's one of the important things of the RT. So well, right now our RT is higher than 1 simply because we've had case growth in the last 2 weeks and compared to where it was the last couple of weeks before. And as I've told you in this, I'm more confident in this RT number at this point simply because our cases no longer have that much of a lag anymore. So we are seeing case growth in Arizona. Now, is that case growth because of testing or is it because of an increased transmission? That is remains to be seen in some cases. But the fact of the matter is we are picking up more cases. So before we move on, I will go to COVID Act Now because they have a rate of transmission estimate for all of the counties. And you can see how this is breaking down from county to county and what this is doing to us. So
we found this is a great place to check for those people who were asking for Coconino County and Pima County who are watching their numbers a little bit closer. This is also a great place to check because it divides it county by county.
Yes, and I'm just going to put this by infection rate here. So you can see right now Coconino is considered to have the highest RT in Arizona at 1.18, followed by Graham County. Both of these are marked as college towns, or college counties, excuse me. Gila County also up there at 1.16. And you can see it starts to decline after that. But, right here you've got you know, 2 colleges, tribal reservation areas in both of these areas right here. Globe, we already talked about the fact that they have both the San Carlos Apache as well as the outbreak that just occurred and is now impacting these numbers. And then you can see it goes down under 1 as soon as we get to Yavapai, Santa Cruz, La Paz, Cochise, Maricopa, which is obviously the largest, has the largest impact on the entirety on the statewide numbers, is still at 0.94. And then it goes down from there to the lowest of 0.75. And Greenlee doesn't even register right now because they're only picking up a case or 2 every couple weeks. So that's sort of the way you can break down the RT on, you know, from county to county and what's happening. And we've seen growth in rural counties right now. This is, and you can see this right here in this little map that they provide us. You've got growth in a lot of these rural counties, but some of these other counties not as much. So
yeah,
that's where we are at this very moment.
A great place to sort of check things out. So we just wanted to remind you of that particular site over the weekend. Naomi asks about Trump's rally coming up in a few days. And Naomi, they have canceled it. All previously announced campaign events, including the president's participation in these events, they're either being moved or they're being moved to be virtual events, or they are temporarily postponed. So everything's off at this point. All events, let's see, we had Tucson, we had Flagstaff planned. So everything's going to be either online, virtual, or they're not going to happen at all. So we wanted to update you on that. I know some people had heard about those visits planned. We also want to let you know Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden have now tested negative. Also, Nancy Pelosi has tested negative today. And Barron Trump, the president's son, has tested negative. So we wanted to update you on those. Of course, anybody in the president's circle or who has been around the president since being positive, they're going to test everybody to make sure that even if you're asymptomatic, you're not spreading it to somebody else. So those results coming in, I'm sure we'll hear more. You know, he was at the New Jersey get together, the fundraiser, and those people will need to be tested too. So quite a few test results that we're waiting on right now, and we'll keep you updated even within this hour as we hear even more. Garrett, we had about 8,000 test results in the last 24 hours, or reported to us in the last 24 hours, a total of 1.7 million tests so far. We're also hearing of the antigen tests coming in to our schools, being sent in to our K through 12 and prioritized for both K through 12 and our congregate care settings. If we see an influx in those tests, we'll also see it show up on our numbers here, just like we did for ASU or NAU or U of A.
Yes, yeah, we will, absolutely. And it will be more targeted numbers in certain zip codes. You know, we'll see zip codes rising at inordinate rates compared to other zip codes.
Yeah. I just want to be sure. I did say all his events were canceled, right? I'm seeing some comments that okay,
no,
yeah, okay. I want to make sure I didn't misspeak there, but every event is canceled. Before we even heard that the president had tested positive, he was already in quarantine with the first lady. So wanted to make sure everybody was updated on that. All right, you touched on an issue, the Globe Long-Term Care Facility. We are seeing numbers out of there. We do have a reporter on the story tonight to keep everybody updated. But when we have a situation like that, Garrett, we can see it right away in those case numbers as they're reported. And if it's in a smaller area, like let's say it happened in a Greenlee where they don't have many, it would throw off a lot of the numbers. It wouldn't just be a rise in case numbers, but because there's a limited number of population, that would sort of sway everything.
Yes, and I wish that I had the ability to track the age demographics by daily by county. Unfortunately, I just never had the ability to do that because of just the amount of time it would take to go through all the counties. But let me sort of show you what we're talking about today in Gila County. So again, Gila County, what we saw today, just statewide so far, is that for it's very rare, but today was one of those days in which 65 years and older did grow at a faster rate than all of the other age groups. Although something to note today, I'm going to see if I can get a little closer here. Less than 20 has now passed 30,000 in total, and that one had been growing at faster rates. But you can see, for example, in this case, 65 years and older is it's only 11%. And then when you go to Gila County, which just reported those 30 plus long-term care facilities, we're now at 19% of cases from 65 years and older. Now, of course, the problem with this is that although we don't have active case rates recoveries, we do know that these are fairly recent cases. And so we're going to have to watch Gila for a little bit. This is a high risk category, and they just added about 30 from this category. So, you know, just we'll keep an eye on that. Very sad situation. Hopefully everybody recovers.
Yeah, incredibly sad situation, and we'll keep everybody updated on that. So to find this section on the AZDH's website, you can actually scroll down and see each of those categories, as he showed you that under 20 that we've watched so closely. We saw the numbers change there, but as he's showing you, highlighting each county so you can learn a little bit more about your specific area.
And you can see that for the most part, in most places, especially in southern Arizona, everything's sort of demographically following along with the state, with 65 years and older, for the most part, not being higher than the other demos. The exceptions being Mojave, which we know has an extremely high retirement population and was also hit very hard in the long-term care facilities. Yavapai, another situation, long-term care facilities, very high retirement population, and now Gila is in that same situation where they have a sort of a over weighted distribution where it's impacting 65 years and older at a higher rate. So, we'll just have to keep watching that.
Yeah, for sure. Shandy is asking us about schools and the school exposures. And Shandy, I want to let you know that the schools don't have to report that information to us. They report it to the other families within the class. We sometimes hear from parents who pass that letter on to us to let the public know about an exposure in a school. So the best place to find that list that we have is on abc15.com/schools, and you can find a whole list there, a chart of all of them that they have been passed along to us from parents. So again, they're not required to report it publicly. That might change a lot of things if they did, and we'd get a little more information about really how that looks in our schools. But at this point, they're not required to. We do know of some varsity football teams that have put their teammates in quarantine because of a possible exposure, but that's the best place to find that information. So if there's a specific school, Shandy, that you're looking for, you can find it there, but be warned that it's not a complete list just because they don't have to report it to us.
I will also add that Maricopa County has recently started to at least report on case numbers in total for all school and school age students as well as staff. It's on their dashboard. I'll get over to you really quick. They now have a new tab here called Schools. Hard to see. Sorry, our logo's in the way there, but it's right there in the end. And I'm now tracking this. I hadn't been tracking this, but I'm now adding it to it. And what I can tell you is that it has not increased from the last yesterday. So far, no added numbers in these two categories. So 19 schools or 11 schools have an outbreak. 9 are open, 2 are closed. 36 students and 14 staff, and that hasn't changed from day over day quite yet. But I'm going to track this on a daily basis now, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this is specifically for Maricopa County. Do you know if any of the other counties are providing a place for information like that?
Not that I've seen, but I don't explore their websites a lot. So if someone knows if any of the other counties are doing school dashboards, let me know, because they're not doing it on their main COVID dashboard, but they may have a secondary one. I know that Pima is going to have, they're having like a press release, press conference on Monday, where they're going to be releasing their new COVID dashboard. Pima has not been independently reporting since April, and they may be adding school data to that. We'll see once we have that press conference on Monday where they show the dashboard.
Yeah, this is a great page, by the way, not just for the schools tab, but you can find other information on age groups and demographics. If you click on the age groups category, it tells you a little bit more about the outcomes of those age groups. So 0 to 19, 20 to 44, 45 to 64, and in the 65 plus groups. You can see how many were hospitalized, how many then ended up in the ICU, and then ultimately and sadly, how many in that group passed from COVID-19.
Yes, and for those who are concerned about it, they also have risk factors in this same vein, where they actually will also tell you, like, for example, 83% of the people who have died from COVID-19 were either 65 and older, or they had a chronic medical condition. So it does break it down a little bit farther as well with this.
Yeah. Debbie's asking if the Maricopa County Schools tab is updated every day. Do you know, Garrett?
It is not.
Oh, it's
No,
not.
Maricopa County's. Oh, wait, the schools tab. Yes, it is updated every day. Sorry, I thought you meant the map. My mind's always on the map.
The map is so popular. The map
Yeah.
is only updated on Thursday, and that's important to note too, because so many people type their zip code in and they ask us to look at that, and really Thursday is the only day that it's most valuable, because that's when the very latest information comes out. So if you're looking at it, say on a Wednesday, you're looking at week-old information. So, and then our tab on our schools tab is updated as people send it in and as we can get it confirmed by the school district. So once we get that letter, we don't just take that letter for word. We go back and check with the school district and look for confirmation on that. So, all right, let's see. Hospitalizations still looking pretty good. Is there a category that you're watching a little bit more, or that you'll continue to keep your eye on this weekend?
We did have, and I'll share it so that we all are looking at it at the same time. We finally saw a break in the COVID-19 specific metrics for inpatient. That was a welcome sight, because it had been rising for 4 days straight, and it did go down today. So a welcome sight there. Of course, the one I always keep my eye on is this hospitalization, or excuse me, emergency room department. You can see there's this massive break here. That's a reporting error. So we basically have to start the clock here at 9:22 as far as when we're looking at the trend. And you can see this trend is obviously an increase of emergency room visits from 9:22 on. So we're going to keep watching this. It's interesting because this number is not reconciling with the CLI numbers right now. So we're going to have to keep watching, and we might have to go back and figure out with the Department of Health Services why we're seeing increases in COVID-19 emergency room department visits. Now, right now, it's a very gradual increase, but not in the ED for CLI. I don't know enough about CLI to figure out why that would be. So we're going to keep watching that. But that to me is the most important one right now. And ICUs generally still very flat. You can see it's been very flat since about that same time, 918, 920. It's been up and down, but not even really a trend in any direction at this point, just a very flat number. So hospitalization data looks very good. Small upticks here and there, but nothing that's held or especially gone in sort of this direction yet. But you can see it took a while to get there. I mean, these jumps took several weeks to do. So, we'll just keep watching it. But right now, everything looks okay.
Yeah. So Garrett, when you're seeing these numbers overall, you're saying that the cases are starting to creep up, but the average death rate, if you will, or the death averages are actually falling at this point.
Yeah, we're seeing, and which suggests to me that for the most part, and we've talked about this, the cases have been coming from this under 20 or 20 or up 20 to 45 category, which is less perceptible to death in the virus. So, let me see if I can bring this up really quick. I'll just use this because I'm on this, but you can see with the deaths, we have no noticeable increase in the deaths right now. It does take a little longer for deaths to be added to this, but even here on October 2nd, throughout the entire curve of September, it's still on a downward, just dropping. So very good news for deaths. I have not noticed anything that sort of red flags me that deaths are going to even level out at this point. I would presume at some point they're going to level out, but right now everything looks okay.
Yeah. And when we talk about active cases, of course, there's no set tally. There's no dashboard to go check to see of the 208,000 cases in, I'm sorry, I'm behind a week, 219,000 cases here in Arizona. There's no set dashboard that sort of gives us an exact update for that. So the best we can do is take the 219, sadly subtract out the almost 5,700 people we've lost, and then sort of look at the date of diagnosis and figure if it's later than, say, 28 days, it can be safely or saferly, not a word, but it's a safer place to assume that they have recovered. Of course, that's not to say that there are not long haulers, the people who are sick for a very long time, who are fighting this thing, who just can't seem to feel better. But the range that it gives us has pretty much for a while, it's been under 20,000 of active cases here in Arizona. What do you figure the range to be at this point?
The range right now is about 11.7 thousand to 18,600 confirmed active cases. And as you said, this range comes from cases that are either under 14 days old, which is your low active estimate, that 11.7, or high active estimate, which is under 27 days old, and that's the 18.6. So that's why we do that, is that even like you said with the long haulers, we don't know if these cases recovered, but we can be a little more confident that these confirmed active cases after a certain period of time, especially that 27-day mark, those are no longer infectious no matter what. So regardless of them being recovered, we always want everyone to have a recovery, obviously, but they're no longer infectious after 27 days. That's pretty confident. 14 days, that's pretty much the general average that most places are using. But to be really conservative and really cautious, say after 27 days, we are certain there is a high degree of certainty that they're no longer infectious at that point.
So there are some places that are tracking recovery numbers. The Navajo Nation releases recovery numbers. They're able to track that. Other places release recovery numbers.
We don't have a state definition because a lot of these counties, they have different definitions of what they consider recovered. I've seen it in, I'm using Coconino's because I'm trying to do state definitions, and Coconino's is 27 days or more. So I put the 14 days in there to give a range, but the estimate for Coconino is 27 days or more. But some of the other counties, the majority of counties, are doing what's called, they're considered recovered after the investigation into that case is closed. So essentially, at some point, when the contact tracers at the health departments in the county are calling these people and saying, how are you doing? How are you doing? You don't have to quarantine. Eventually, someone says, yes, I'm done, and they close the investigation. So once the investigation is closed, that case is then considered recovered. Or unfortunately, sadly, the other way they close cases is they died. So pretty much the two outcomes, and that's what most of those other counties are doing. But because I don't have that case investigation data, and I don't presume we're ever going to have that case investigation data, that I use the estimate for the 27 days.
Yeah. Okay. So yesterday we were sort of looking at things east to west valley and how a bit of a different storyline is setting up there. It sounds like we won't know specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, how that's shaping up until we get the data out next Thursday that drills down zip code by zip code to tell us a little bit more about how things look East Valley versus West Valley. And we don't know the reasoning for this at this point, but there definitely is a clear difference in the number of new cases popping up in the East Valley versus the West Valley.
Yeah, for example, we're starting to see, for the first time, we're starting to see East Valley zip codes with higher case growth per week than zip codes on the west side. Like, for example, I'll point to 85142, Queen Creek, right here. Queen Creek is it is one of the top 10 zip codes with growth this last week. And we're seeing that all over the East Valley. We're seeing East Valley zip codes increasing. We're seeing increases everywhere in Maricopa County, very small increases for the most part, but more so in the East on the east side than the west side right now. I'm going to try to put a map together next week that really highlights this. But right now, we'll just sort of go with these numbers. And you can see, we've seen this hotspot has gradually been disappearing. This is the Southeast Phoenix hotspot. And while none of these have gone into, none of the east side zip codes have gone into substantial transmission as of yet, as we've clicked on them, we've seen that, like, I just clicked on a random zip code. I didn't know which one, 85254, and we see 38 to 59 over the course of a week. I'll click on another random one, 85233, 34 to 49, and then I'll click on a random one out here on the west side, and you can see, oh, that one does have a, like I said, there's 22 to 45. Let's click on a second one right up here. And this one is 13 to 27. So we're seeing increases everywhere. But when I'm looking at this, and it will, I'm pretty sure it's going to come out that the east side is going to be higher than the west side as far as growth.
Yeah, and we don't know at this point why that is. What's going on there? Morgan writes, could it be because most East Valley schools went back before West Valley schools. I mean, that
Anything's a possibility. That could absolutely
yeah.
be a possibility, but we're not seeing anything in the Gilbert Public Schools dashboard that's suggesting that at this point. I know that Queen Creek has its own as well, but I'm not seeing in other dashboards quite yet. That doesn't mean, like you said, we don't know if that means it's going to show up or not, but that's just what it is.
Yeah. And Tanya writes, a lot of schools will be on fall break next week, so I'm sure there'll be increases with families going out. That could definitely be a possibility too, if people are more mobile in the next week, being on fall break. Many of those schools, whether they travel out of the county, out of the state, anything's possible there. So it'll be one of the things that we watch in these coming weeks and coming days after everybody returns. And a lot more schools are coming back on October 13th and 14th, when that is the date that they set back in August and late July, when everyone was postponing their schools. Some pushed it back to after Labor Day, and then there were a handful of them that pushed it back to the return after fall break, which is coming up, be a week and a half away now. So all of those things are possibilities. At this point, we just don't know. And so, Garrett, we won't really have another assessment of that until next Thursday, or there's some leading indicators somewhere else that might give us a clue, east versus west?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, it's going to be next Thursday. I'm going to try to put together using the actual zip code data from AZDHS and get some growth data in there. I do have it, and that's why I noticed a lot more East Valley East zip codes, because just because I live in the East Valley, so I know what the zip codes look like, and I saw a lot more East Valley zip codes on that list of growth than I did West Valley zip codes. But again, this is just on the exploratory phase. I'll put something together next week that's a little bit more concrete.
Yeah, we'll learn a little bit more. How are those mobility numbers looking? I know it was one of the places we could see over a holiday. It'll be interesting to see over fall break if that registers on there, if enough people have fall break over the same week that it shows up like that. But how have things been? It certainly anecdotally feels busier on the roads. It feels like a lot more people are out and about. We don't have, by any means, everybody back at the TV station, but we do have a few more people coming back in. So when you only have a dozen people there, one more feels like a lot more. So we're seeing this across the valley, and people slowly but surely starting to return to work and then starting to return to school. So are you seeing that reflected in mobility data that's out there?
Let me see if I can pull that up while we're talking. So I'm going to try to get that ready. It's just going to take me one moment. I do apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll update everybody on some of the other information too. Let's see. Oh, Carol was saying maybe the death count with the east side and west side should be counted too. I don't think we have it split apart.
We do not. No.
Here,
okay, I found it. I can get you what you're asking for.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, we do not have anything. We don't have test data. The only thing we have in that respect, and that's why we're using the Maricopa County Schools dashboard, is because they provide us more than just case counts.
Right.
The ACDHS only provides us case counts on a daily basis for zip codes. So we don't have percent positives. We don't have anything else to glean any information off of. So
Yeah.
Let me share this. This is the mobility graph. And again, this one's not as pretty as the others because I always keep trying to put this online somewhere, and I get too busy. But here's the mobility graph. Again, this is anonymized cell phone data. You can see from April, this drops down when the lockdowns were in place, rises when the lockdowns were released, and then stops or continues down when we were hitting peak. These mobility numbers started to go down. You can see here's July. It's a little hard to see. I apologize. But now you can see we've been on this gradual increase that now brings us basically we're at higher mobility than we ever have been today. We are basically at over 50% mobility and over where we were when things were lifted back in June. I know a lot of people like to say end the lockdown. We're not locked down, and this is obvious that Arizonans are now moving about at a higher rate than they were in when things were getting really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to suggest that that's going to happen. I'm just saying that is a fact.
Right. And the difference is masking too. I mean that people weren't necessarily wearing them at that point. Carrie's asking, can you check the mobility rate between the East Valley and the West Valley? I wish we could. I don't think there's anything that drilled down. Is there, Garrett?
I don't know. I think I might be able to do something. I think it's only by county. I think that's as far down as I can go. But I'll look around. Maybe Apple has something. Sometimes there's metro data, so I can pull Phoenix out and compare it to something else, but I have to look. There's a bunch of mobility data out there. I use this one because it's sort of an aggregation of everybody. But I will see what I can do about finding something later.
Yeah, it's fascinating just to see, information that we never would have had before, because we didn't always have cell phones in our pockets to sort of let everybody know how much we were moving around. Okay, so few more things that I want to get to before we close things up for the day. We just have, and for the week, just a matter of minutes left, if you will. Just to update you globally on our numbers, we have 34.5 million cases worldwide at this point. Over 1 million, as you heard earlier this week, passing 1 million deaths. Sadly, now we are at 1,025,183 deaths. And then of those here in the U.S., 208,000 families are experiencing the grief of a life lost and a loved one lost. And we always remember in that 208,000, those are our friends and family and neighbors and coworkers and people that are deeply missed in all of this. So 208,000. And then as far as that case count here in the U.S., we're at 7.3 million cases. So we make up a huge percentage of the global cases, despite being only 4% of the world's population. So some things of note there. Once again, I want to update you on sort of who's taking tests right now. And we try not to get too political on here. We try to always stick to the numbers. But of course, the big storyline today, the president and the first lady testing positive, releasing that information to us at about 10 o'clock Arizona time last night, just as we were starting our newscast. So both the president and the first lady testing positive. Barron has tested negative. Their son, Joe Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, and Nancy Pelosi all testing negative as well. I'm sure we'll see even more results coming in throughout the afternoon as these tests come in, Garrett.
And I'm also seeing on our email that CNN is reporting that the president is he's being taken to Walter Reed and is going to work out of Walter Reed at this point.
Okay, that is a huge development. Thank you for that. Wow, that's just coming down. Okay.
Yeah, literally just coming down seconds ago.
Yeah, so as that information comes in, we always want to keep you updated on everything that we hear coming out of there. So if you're watching on our streaming devices later, first of all, we thank you for watching in those places. And we'd love for you to join us in the live conversation here as well, which we have on Facebook each afternoon. And all of you in the comments. We so appreciate all your questions. This is a good time to get to any other questions you might have. Yeah, Carol writes, they're in the process of moving him to Walter Reed. That's not good. Stephen Daniels writes, oh, dang, that's not good. So we will keep you updated as we hear anything more. The president being 74 years old now, 74. So that's obviously, age is a huge concern, as we've seen in this, Garrett. We always look at the over 65 numbers and how often people have to be hospitalized in that age group, how often that age group sadly ends up in ICU and ultimately losing their lives. So age is a huge factor in all of this.
Here's the CNN correspondent. I'm just sharing this right now off of my Twitter account. This is what she's saying. It's out of abundance of caution and the recommendation of his physicians and medical experts, the president will be working from the presidential offices at Walter Reed for the next few days. So that's what's coming down from CNN at this point.
Right. That's from Caitlin Collins' Twitter account.
Collins, yes.
Yeah, she's been working all night, overnight on this, so we appreciate her reporting coming in and being in the press pool there. I can tell you, with the president's first exit from the White House that happened in late May, early June, he came to Phoenix. I was there for that. They did not test those of us who were there in his motorcade. They tested everyone who was on Air Force One with him. So a little bit different protocol, although we're all in the same room. He was not wearing a mask when I was with him. I did not see him in a mask that entire time. We did see people in the crowd with masks. Obviously, we were wearing masks, but the protocol is that on Air Force One, the press pool is still wearing masks. Everybody gets tested, but outside of that, in the motorcade, you're not tested. So just to kind of update you on how how that works when you're out there. But yeah, his first stop was here in Arizona as he left the White House. For those of you that are joining us late, we want to remind you that also his appearances that were scheduled for here in Arizona, both in Flagstaff and Tucson, have been temporarily postponed, and all other campaign events are going to be considered on a case-by-case basis as they go through everything. All the relevant announcements will continue to come from the White House in the days to come. So we'll be watching this very, very closely over the weekend. This news cycle will be intense over these next few days. All right, back for us here in Arizona. Garrett, are you hearing anything more that you'll be watching in these last few minutes over the weekend? I want to say thank you to you for always keeping your Twitter account updated in such a timely manner for us. That your weekend is your time off with your family, with your daughter, and we all appreciate the moments that you take away to put those numbers together in an easy to read format for us over the weekend. Garrett's Twitter account, by the way, is at Garrett_Archer. That's the place you can find it. What are going to be your top things to watch over the weekend as we head into this fall break for many people?
We'll be looking at the emergency room numbers, of course, and the CLI that gets recalculated on Sundays. That's always an important number to look at. Case numbers just become a little less important after Saturday because it takes 2 days for them to pop up. So we'll continue watching those hospitalizations, as well as the CLI.
Yeah, Margaret writes, "Thank you, Garrett." Margaret, I echo your comments there. We appreciate it. Judy writes, "Thank you for keeping us updated." And thanks to all of you for joining us on here. It means a lot that you take time with us every day. We've been doing this since June. Garrett, I have not taken much time off, neither have you, since we started each afternoon meeting here in this little rendezvous to talk about coronavirus and the Arizona data as it comes out. And so I will be taking next week off. It is fall break, and I plan to spend a little more time, even though we've had a lot of time together with my kids. And so our family will not be doing anything exciting, but we'll be right here at home, but I'll be taking some time away. So I can tell you you're in good hands with Garrett, and Steve Irvin will be joining you here. Also, Faye Fredericks, they'll both be filling in for me. So you'll get to talk about more of the numbers and keep you updated. Margaret, thank you. That's so sweet. All right, so those are the things to watch this weekend. Let me let you know where you can find all of us over our fall break too. Garrett is at Garrett_Archer, as I just mentioned, and then I'm over on Twitter at Katie Rammel. Just because I'm off doesn't mean I necessarily skip out on all the social media. So I'll still be there with you a bit. If Facebook rather is your preferred method, my account is facebook.com/news from Katie. That's where we're updating you on all of the information as it came out last night, as well as we heard from Melania Trump and also from President Trump. So, okay, let's see. All of our coronavirus reporting, you can find it. Carol saying, "Have a nice break." Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Margaret saying, "Time with the kiddos." Yes, even more. It'll be good though. We'll enjoy it. As parents, we're loving this time to have our kids around. So coronavirus reporting can be found at abc15.com/coronavirus. We have our reporters out there working hard all day today. As I said, we're going to update you on that Globe situation and that long-term care facility that has seen plenty of exposure and outbreak and the concerns there. And then you can find our newscast changing tonight. Garrett, are you an NBA fan? Where is Carol Ashby, who always joins us here? She's a Lakers fan. I thought of her.
The Lakers icon, yeah.
As the Lakers, I mean, they took it in game 1. So we're going to see how game 2 goes. Do you watch?
I watched the Lakers, yeah.
Yeah, you just
I grew up in Southern California, so it was the team. We didn't have a football team when I was growing up in Southern California, so Lakers.
Yeah, that's all you had. So so it's game 2, Lakers and Heat. We'll have that tonight. So that does change our newscast just a little bit. We'll have our newscast at 4, our newscast at 5. We'll be back on with you for a post-game show, usually around 8:30, right in there, depending on how close the game goes, how many timeouts are taken, how long they stretch it. That'll happen at about 8:30. Then we also have our newscast on CW61 at 9 p.m. And then we'll join you back for even more news tonight at 10. So we'll keep you updated on all these developments, the president's health and the first lady's health, as we learn this diagnosis throughout the evening, and more information as it comes in. In the meantime, as we always say, gosh, we've learned even more how important masking is. Be safe out there, everybody. We will see you. They'll see you back here next week, and I'll see you a week from then. Be safe, everybody.